The air shimmered with heat and jet exhaust, the smell sharp and exciting, at least to 11-year-old Maya Torres, who pressed her nose against the window of seat 14A with barely contained excitement. Other passengers scrolled through their phones, adjusted their seats, or yawned behind masks. But Maya's wide brown eyes scanned every moving plane, every taxiing vehicle, every blinking light. She absorbed it all with the silent reverence of someone stepping into a cathedral. Flying was magic, but more than that, flying was home. She had grown up on stories of the sky. Her late mother had been a small aircraft pilot, full of tales about cloud layers and headwinds and sunset crossings. Maya's favorite memories were the evenings they'd spend reading flight manuals together, her mother explaining diagrams while Maya listened like every word was treasure. After her mother passed, Maya kept those dog-eared manuals under her pillow. Now, as Sky Dancer prepared for takeoff, she felt that familiar spark. A dream she didn't speak aloud ever fluttered in her chest. One day, I'll fly for real. The cabin vibrated softly as the engines came alive. Maya closed her eyes, savoring the hum that vibrated through her bones. She imagined the pilots in the cockpit flipping switches, checking gauges, calling out procedures she knew by heart. Stabilizer trim set. Flaps 15 degrees. Cleared for takeoff. Beside her, an older woman knitted a scarf with slow, practiced motions. Across the aisle, a toddler shouted about seeing a huge airplane, with the joy only toddlers possess. But Maya barely registered any of them. She was too busy watching the world beyond the window. The plane began to roll. Faster, faster. The roar of the engines grew deeper, more powerful, and Maya's pulse beat perfectly in sync with the acceleration. She braced for the moment she loved, the lift, the soft jump into the air that felt like shedding gravity. But then something went wrong. A jolt, sudden and violent, ran through the plane. The cabin lurched sideways as if shoved by an invisible hand. People gasped. Cups rattled. A laptop slammed shut on someone's fingers. Maya's heart jumped into her throat. The plane shouldn't shake like that. Not at this speed, not at this angle, not with the engines groaning like they were struggling for breath. Another shudder hit harder. A baby began wailing 3 rows back. Someone shouted, "What's happening?" A chorus of fearful murmurs rippled across the cabin like a rising tide. Maya clutched the armrests, her mind racing through the things she'd memorized. Engine stall, hydraulics failure, unstable takeoff. She didn't know she wasn't in the cockpit. She couldn't see the instruments, but something was wrong, badly wrong. Then the intercom clicked. Everyone froze. "Ladies and gentlemen," said a voice, strained, shaking, gasping for air. We have an emergency situation." It was the captain, but his voice sounded nothing like the calm, confident tone pilots typically used. It was weak, fading. "Please, remain C," the words cut off. Static filled the cabin speaker. Then nothing, pure, terrifying silence. The plane drifted sharply off-center. The nose dipped, not enough to crash, but enough to send everyone grabbing for anything stable. Maya felt her stomach flip. They were still low to the ground. Far too low for mistakes. Beside her, the knitting woman dropped her needles, whispering a prayer under her breath. Overhead bins rattled. A man stood up only to be shouted down by a flight attendant. "Sir, sit down now." Panic crackled in the air like static electricity. And then running footsteps. A flight attendant rushed down the aisle, her face pale, her hands trembling as she clutched the back of seat after seat to steady herself. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, voice breaking, we need a pilot. If anyone here has flight experience, any experience, please identify yourself immediately." Passengers looked around wildly. A few shook their heads, helpless. A man muttered, "I was Navy, but not a pilot." A young woman whispered, "I can't fly anything, I'm sorry." The attendant scanned the rows, desperation growing. "We need someone," she repeated. "Anyone." Maya felt her heartbeat throbbing in her ears. Her instincts screamed. Her mind flooded with lessons, diagrams, emergency checklists she'd memorized for fun. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. "Bravery isn't never being scared, Maya. It's doing the right thing even when you are." Before she realized what she was doing, she unbuckled her seat belt. Her legs felt shaky, but she stood. The knitting woman looked at her in surprise. The flight attendant turned, startled. I know how to fly," Maya said. Her voice was small, but it didn't shake. The attendant blinked. Once, twice. "You what? How old are you?" 11, she answered, lifting her chin. "But I can help." And in that moment, in that impossible, terrifying, sky-shattering moment, every passenger turned toward the little girl in row 14A, because she was the only one saying she could save them. The aisle felt impossibly long as Maya walked toward the front of the plane. Her legs trembled, but her steps remained steady, each one powered by something deeper than bravery, something instinctive, like the sky itself whispered go. Passengers watched her with wide, terrified eyes. Some looked confused, some hopeful, some doubtful, but no one stopped her. The flight attendant hurried beside her, speaking into a radio with a shaking hand. "Yes, someone is coming to the cockpit. No, not a pilot, but she says she can fly." Maya winced at the disbelief she heard in that last word. The plane shuddered again, dropping just enough to make people gasp and clutch their seats. Oxygen masks trembled above their compartments, threatening to fall. "Please hurry," the attendant urged. Maya didn't need to be told twice. When they reached the cockpit door, the attendant punched in the emergency override code. The heavy door swung open with a hiss. The sight inside stole Maya's breath. The captain lay slumped back in his seat, his skin pale, his breathing shallow. A sheen of sweat covered his forehead. His hands hung useless at his sides. Something catastrophic had struck him mid-takeoff. Stroke, heart attack, no one knew. The co-pilot wasn't much better. His face was gray, his lips tinged blue. He was conscious, barely, gripping his chest as if trying to hold in the pain. Warning alarms blared, painting the cockpit in a frantic red glow. Screens flashed error messages. The plane drifted slightly off its climb path, still rising but crooked, unstable. The co-pilot's weak eyes flicked toward Maya. "Who?" he rasped. "She's here to help," the attendant said quickly. "There's no one else." Maya swallowed. "Sir, I need you to unlock the controls." The co-pilot's gaze sharpened for a moment, confusion replaced by something like desperate trust. His trembling fingers reached forward, disengaging the autopilot with a shaky tap. The plane lurched as manual control shifted. Maya grasped the yoke with both hands, her feet barely touching the pedals. The aircraft responded sluggishly, too heavy, too slow, too alive. But she had studied these controls her entire life. She had imagined this moment in a dozen dreams, though never like this, never with so many lives hanging in the balance. "Easy," she whispered to herself. "Gentle." With a careful pull, she straightened the plane. Another nudge raised the nose to the proper climb angle. She checked the artificial horizon, adjusted the throttle slightly, scanned the altimeter like she'd seen her mother do countless times. The alarms quieted, the aircraft steadied. Behind her, the flight attendant gasped. "Oh my God, she's actually doing it." Maya didn't have time to feel proud. Her mind buzzed, hyper-focused. She needed communication. She needed help. She needed someone who knew how to land a plane she had only studied in manuals. Her hands shook as she reached for the radio. She pressed the button and forced her voice not to crack. "Control tower, this is Maya Torres, speaking for Flight 207. The captain and first officer are unconscious or incapacitated. I'm in control of the aircraft. I'm 11 years old." The radio hissed with static, then a flurry of voices exploded. "Say again. Who is controlling the plane? Is this a prank? Identify the speaker. Flight 207, your transponder is erratic. State your emergency." Maya flinched but pushed the button again. "I'm not lying. The pilots are down. I know some procedures, but I need help. Please." The cockpit felt too small, too loud, too bright. Her breath quickened. The co-pilot wheezed out, "Help her." The radio crackled once more. A different voice came through, calmer, firm, authoritative. "Flight 207, this is Air Traffic Control Supervisor Dan Richardson. Maya, we hear you. We believe you. Maintain current heading and altitude." We are contacting emergency support. Maya's shoulders lowered in relief, but only slightly. Please hurry, I can't land this alone. We understand, the supervisor said. Stay calm. Assistance is coming from every direction. She tightened her grip on the yoke. The plane was flying steadily now, but she could feel the weight of it, literal tons of machinery and human lives, all in her shaking hands. Minutes past felt like hours. Then the radio beeped sharply. Maya Torres, this is NORAD command. 2 F-22 Raptors have been dispatched to your location. They will fly alongside you and assist in guiding you to a safe landing. F-22s, Maya whispered, half shocked, half reassured. Yes, they'll be there in moments. A lump formed in her throat. She wasn't alone anymore. Help was coming, help with wings powerful enough to carve through the sky like blades of lightning. She steadied her breath. She could do this. She had to. Behind her, the flight attendant placed a trembling hand on her shoulder. You're saving everyone, she whispered. Maya kept her eyes on the horizon. Not yet, she said softly. But I will. And outside the cockpit windows, the vast sky waited, holding its breath for the girl who dared to take control. The sky stretched endlessly ahead, blue, open, and terrifyingly wide. Maya stared through the cockpit glass, her heart pounding to the rhythm of the engines. She had stabilized the aircraft, but every second felt like balancing on the edge of a knife. One wrong move, one mistake, and everything could spiral out of control. The radio crackled, breaking the tense silence. Flight 207, stand by. Escort arriving on your left in 10 seconds. 10 seconds felt impossibly short and impossibly long. Maya swallowed, her mouth dry. She leaned forward slightly, scanning the open sky. 5 seconds. 4. 3. Something dark flashed in the distance, moving fast, far faster than any commercial jet. 2 sleek shapes burst from the horizon like arrows released from a bow. 1. Suddenly, 2 F-22 Raptors surged into view, cutting through the air with stunning precision. They rolled into formation, one sliding to the left of Skydancer, the other to the right, their angular wings shining sharply under the sun. Maya's breath caught. They were beautiful, deadly, and graceful at the same time, like twin guardians forged of steel and sky. The radio chimed again, this time with a voice that felt impossibly steady. Maya Torres, this is Captain Samuel Rhodes of the United States Air Force. I'm flying the Raptor on your left wing. Lieutenant Harper is on your right. We've got you. For the first time since she entered the cockpit, Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. She wasn't alone anymore. Professionals, real pilots, were here. Hi, she said, her voice small but clear. I think I've got the plane steady, but I don't know how to land something this big. That's all right, Captain Rhodes replied. Landing is the hardest part, but the good news. You've already done something far more difficult, taking control under pressure. Maya blinked rapidly. She wasn't used to praise, especially not the kind that felt real, earned. The F-22 on the right dipped slightly, its pilot speaking next. You're doing great, Maya. Just keep your hands steady and your eyes forward. Pretend we're all flying one big formation together. I'll try, Maya murmured. You're not trying, Rhodes corrected gently. You are doing. Their confidence strengthened her like steel pouring into her bones. The Raptors adjusted their positions, matching Skydancer's exact speed, an incredible feat given the fighter jets could have outrun her plane 1,000 times over. Rhodes continued, we're going to guide you step by step. First, I want you to take a deep breath. Maya inhaled shakily. Good. Now stabilize your speed at 240 knots. You're already close. She checked the airspeed indicator, 238 knots. Okay, she said, adjusting throttle now. The plane nudged forward smoothly. The airspeed settled at 240. Perfect, Rhodes said. Now maintain your current altitude. Harper, how's her wing look? Rock solid, Harper replied. Maya pictured him smiling inside his helmet. Kid steadier than half the trainees I've met. A small laugh escaped her, nervous but genuine. The co-pilot, still barely conscious, stirred weakly. He managed a faint whisper. You're doing incredible. Save your strength, sir, Maya told him softly. We're going to get you down safe. Outside, the F-22s tightened their formation, their wings gleaming dangerously close without ever touching. The Raptors became her guides, her shields, her confidence. Captain Rhodes's voice returned. Maya, we're approaching the point where we'll need to turn you toward the nearest airport. We've coordinated everything. Runway is cleared. Emergency crews are standing by. The knot in Maya's chest tightened. Landing. The one thing she feared most. Rhodes, what if I mess up? You won't, he said simply, because we won't let you. The certainty in his voice felt like a lifeline. All right, she whispered. What do I do first? Follow my lead. Watch my jet. When I bank, you bank. When I correct, you correct. Keep your eyes on me. The F-22 on her left slowed just enough to pull ahead, tilting its wing upward. Easy now, Rhodes said. Tilt your yoke 5 degrees left, Maya matched him. Good, good, just like that. The plane began its slow, wide turn. Passengers cried and clutched hands behind her. The attendant held her breath. But Maya, she held the sky. The aircraft responded to her touch, heavy but obedient. The turn completed seamlessly. Beautiful work, Harper said. You're a natural. Maya's cheeks warmed. She had never been called a natural at anything before. Rhodes's calm voice guided her through every adjustment. Small corrections, gentle turns, flap settings, airspeed management. He spoke to her not like she was a child, but like she was a fellow pilot. Maya, he said after several minutes, you're lined up with the runway approach path. We're entering the final phase. Her heart hammered. This was it. We'll be with you the whole way, Rhodes reassured. Wingtip to wingtip. Maya nodded, hands steady on the controls, determination blazing through her fear. The sky wasn't empty anymore. She had guardians, and together they were bringing Flight 207 home. The runway stretched out ahead like a long, silver promise, steady, straight, and frighteningly small from miles above. Maya swallowed hard. Her palms were sweaty against the yoke despite the cold air blasting from the overhead vent. The F-22s flew beside her in an unwavering formation, their presence both calming and awe-inspiring. Maya, Captain Rhodes's voice came through gently, you're on the final approach. This is the hardest part, but also the most controlled. We'll walk you through every second. Maya nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Okay, I'm ready. In truth, she wasn't sure if anyone could truly be ready for landing a commercial jet at 11 years old. But she had come too far to falter now. Behind her, the cabin had gone silent, terrified, hopeful, breathless. Every passenger knew exactly what was happening, and every passenger knew exactly who held their fate. Maya could almost feel their collective heartbeat behind her, hundreds of lives waiting on the steadiness of her small hands. Rhodes spoke again. First step, begin lowering your altitude. I want you descending at 700 feet per minute. Maya adjusted the throttle and gently eased the yoke forward. The aircraft dipped smoothly, the kind of descent that would have impressed even the most seasoned pilot. Perfect, Rhodes said. She could hear the pride in his voice. Now keep your nose aligned with the runway. Harper and I are adjusting our positions to guide your angle. The F-22s shifted, one slightly ahead, one slightly behind, acting like invisible rails helping her stay centered. Bright runway lights began to twinkle below, forming a glowing path through the morning air. Fire trucks and emergency vehicles gathered like red ants at the runway edges, their lights flashing in anticipation. Maya exhaled slowly. How much longer? About 1 minute, Harper answered. 1 minute. 1 minute until she made aviation history, or 1 minute until everything went wrong. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might bruise her ribs. Okay, Maya, Rhodes said, his tone shifting to a slow, steady cadence, the voice of absolute calm. Drop your flaps to 30 degrees. She flipped the switch. The plane felt heavier, slightly slower. Good, now reduce your throttle. Bring it down to 40%. The aircraft responded with a soft rumble as speed decreased. Altitude check, 1,000 feet, Rhodes announced. You're doing beautifully. The co-pilot stirred weakly from his seat. His voice was barely more than a whisper. You have a gift, kid. Maya didn't look at him, couldn't afford any distraction, but her chest tightened at his words. Rhodes continued his guidance, never rushing her, never doubting her. 500 feet. Ease the yoke back just a hair. Keep your eyes straight. Don't stare at the ground. Look ahead. Maya inhaled shakily, fixing her eyes on the far end of the runway, just like her mother had taught her during their backyard pretend flights. 300 feet. Very nice, Maya, really nice. The plane glided lower, wind rushing past the windows. The airport grew larger, clearer. Maya caught a glimpse of crowds gathering, airport staff, emergency workers, people pointing at the sky. 200 feet, Rhodes said. Almost there. The engines hummed, the plane steady as a heartbeat under her control. 100. The runway lights rushed upward to meet them. Maya, Rhodes said softly, flare in 3, 2, 1 now. Maya pulled gently back on the yoke. The wheels touched down. A jolt, firm but controlled, ran through the fuselage as rubber met asphalt. The landing gear bounced once, then steadied. Deploy spoilers, Rhodes instructed. Maya hit the switch. Reverse thrust now. She pulled the levers and the plane slowed dramatically, roaring as air resistance dragged it back. The speed dropped, 80 knots, 60, 40, finally smooth, complete stop. A wave of stunned silence washed through the plane, followed by an eruption of cheers. People sobbed, laughed, hugged each other. The flight attendant sank into a seat, hands covering her face as relief broke into tears. Maya sat frozen, breathing hard, staring straight ahead. She had done it. She had actually done it. The cockpit door opened behind her and a few passengers peeked inside, their eyes full of disbelief and gratitude. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The air itself was filled with awe. Maya, Rhodes said over the radio, sounding almost emotional, that was one of the cleanest landings I've ever seen from a first-timer. Ever. You saved everyone on that plane. Before she could respond, a thunderous roar filled the air. The F-22s. They swept low over the runway, circling Skydancer in a breathtaking arc. The ground crews stopped to watch. Passengers pressed their faces to the windows. Then, in perfect unison, both Raptors dipped their wings. A military salute, a gesture reserved for heroes. Maya's breath caught. Her eyes stung with sudden tears she didn't bother hiding. Maya Torres, Rhodes said, voice warm and proud, the sky honors you today. She closed her eyes. For the first time, she didn't just dream of flying. She belonged to the sky.